Today I'm going to read from Chapter 3 and the first part of Chapter 4 of my book, College Girl. I chose this piece because it hangs together on its own without too much additional scaffolding. At this point in the narrative, the reader has already been introduced to the narrator, a 20-year-old me. My friends and I have gone to a set of Halloween parties, and we've engaged in some mischief. The reader has learned that I'm a dual major in English and theater, and that I have 2 roommates and live in an apartment off campus. In this scene, I am trying to do my homework to prepare to act out a scene for a theater class, and I'm 20 years old. For the next 3 weeks, I'm consumed with scene study. Scene study is a huge deal. It's where you perform a play scene in front of the whole theater department, hundreds of people. Mr. R, he's a psychiatrist in The Exorcist who gets thrown up on by Linda Blair's spinning head. Plus, he's directed Al Pacino, Joanne Woodward, and Alan Alda. Around here, he's the shit. Criticizes the heck out of you. It's supposed to be demeaning, painful, even downright horrifying. Sucking it up is what makes you a better actor. Mr. R has never led an English major into his actor's workshop class before. Plus, I'm an undergraduate, and it's mainly graduate students in the class. But he likes me for reasons I don't understand. I have guts, he tells me, maybe even talent. My grandfather's age, he sports a weird, permanently evil eye, one that is 3 times as large and steady as his other puny one. When Mr. R took me on as an independent study last summer, he told me that I had a good look and appeared Mediterranean. I bounced my head like I for sure understood, but I hadn't the faintest idea about what any of that stuff meant. He also told me I should lose the slouch. Act like a woman, he boomed at me, as if all those years of having his own theater teachers scream projection at him were finally paying off. Then he asked me if I had ever seduced someone before. I said I wasn't sure. The scene he chose for me for scene study is from that play Extremities by William Mastrosimone. The stage notes read that it was first produced in 1981, starring Ellen Barber, then in 1982, starring Susan Sarandon. The time is oddly timeless, the present, September. The place is between Trenton and Princeton, New Jersey, where the cornfield meets the highway. The set is the living room of an old farmhouse. The stage is spare, just a dining room table, chairs, a sofa, several doors, a fireplace, a window filled with plants, some stairs, a locked bike against the wall. I'm doing this scene with a boy who has translucent hair, wire glasses, and Levi's. He's way more comfortable building sets than walking on stage. I play the rape victim, Marjorie. He plays the rapist, Raoul. Our read-through the other night was supremely mediocre. This guy just can't do rapists. There's also the problem of him being washed out and tow-headed, not exactly a Raoul type. Plus, my character's motivation makes no sense to me whatsoever. So I approached Mr. R about all of this. He was trying to escape the theater building, heading toward Philomil's restaurant across the street. Gotta grab some water here. I told Mr. R I didn't have the foggiest idea what the heck to do with the scene. I explained that I have 10 years of karate training, could kick the living crap out of someone if he tried to rape me. Why would I sit there and take it? Just let it happen to me. All that time, I never took my own contact-filled eyes off Mr. R's undulating evil one, staring sideways at me. I barely noticed that I was keeping him, let alone that I was holding him up in the middle of oncoming traffic, turning onto Irving Street. It's harder than you think to fight off someone twice your size. He moved toward the road shoulder. Think about that. I nodded, thanked him as he disappeared after his dinner, but that was a totally lame answer. Now I walk from my bedroom to the kitchen, set the plate on the counter. I fill one of our saucepans with water, set it on the stove, click on the gas. Waiting for the water to boil, I read through the scene again. Marjorie's in her bathrobe, looking at the breakfast dishes, putting on a kettle of water, making a phone call, spraying wilted plants with water. That's a lot to happen before the scene even begins. Yet the stage directions say, don't rush the action. It's a lazy day. There are no pressing concerns. Yeah, right. The stage directions close with, a wasp attacks her. She swipes at it. The plant drops. We hear pottery crack. She is stung by the wasp. Her first words in the scene are, damn it to hell. Then she grabs a can of insecticide, shakes it vigorously, studies that poor wasp meaningfully, and sprays it. Even when it looks dead already, Marjorie keeps right on spraying. Then she contemplates the wasp's wings while burning them slowly with her cigarette. I put the play pages between my teeth, bite down, open a box of spaghetti with my free hands. Mr. R keeps making a big deal about this wasp stuff, how it foreshadows her ability later on in the script to turn the table on the rapist. Marjorie eventually sprays him in the face, too, sears him with tea water, puts a noose around his neck, and stuffs him in the fireplace. I sink a handful of noodles into the sizzling water, take the play out of my mouth, read each line several times. Marjorie's damn it to hell. Raoul's, Joe, hey Joe, it's me. Oh, how you doing, Joe in? Their interaction goes on for almost 3 pages before the attempted rape occurs. She tries every tactic she can to get rid of him, finally lying and saying that her cop husband is asleep upstairs, will come beat him up. But the rapist is wise to her, doesn't believe her. Maybe you're telling me a little lie, pretty mama? Maybe you think I scare easy. Go ahead, go for the door. Let's see who's faster. So where's the other 2 chicks that live here? So Raoul's been casing this joint for some time. I'm making a mental note that I have to tell my scene partner to remember this. Geez, I have to think of everything. I set the play down, shut off the burner. I grab 2 scrap loop pot holders, drain the noodles with the pan lid, slide the noodles onto a plate, set the pot in the sink, leave the plate on the counter. I pick up the script again. The stage directions then read, she runs. He latches onto her hair, brings her down, mounts her, forces a pillow to her face. We hear muffled screams. Those verbs bother me. Latches, mounts, forces. He tells her, don't fight me. I don't want to hurt you. You're too sweet to hurt. Be nice. You smell pretty. Is that your smell or the perfume? Be nice. Want to take a shower together first? I'll soap you up real good. Flip me a little smile, babe. I'm going to fuck you front ways, back ways, and ways you never heard of. This is beyond yuck. I set the play down again, look at my naked spaghetti, grab a jar of sauce, dump half onto the tepid mass, set it back on the counter. I'm not squeamish as girls go, but the words are so darn graphic. I wish Mr. R was not making me do this. Method acting requires that I have to have a motivation for every line. To do this, I'm supposed to recall experiences that will help me understand this woman's situation. I take one of our 3 forks from the silverware drawer, noodle wine through the sauce. I take a bite. It's cold, slimy. I take another. I need to reflect on all the grim stuff I've been through. You would think at 20, there's not much to pull from, but I have a few things to try. There's being sent away at 14 to Northfield Mount Hermon boarding school, paid for with grandpa and parent money scrabbled together. Mom had her reasons. Our sleepy, no-stoplight town, Mason, New Hampshire, exemplified New England charm. The dirt road we lived on was more pothole than anything else. There were annual summer strawberry festivals with makeshift parades, cider press falls, winter snow angels and hot Ovaltine, wet earth lilac springs. Houses were heated with the wood we chopped ourselves, and all the dogs roamed happy and leashless. But it was understood that I'd have to leave there if I was going to get a good education or make anything of myself. And I know Mom had other reasons for sending me away too, like the swelling stomach of that 16-year-old Mormon girl at the end of the road. I nudged the remains of the spaghetti and sauce into one open garbage can with my fork, set my dirties in the sink, put the jar in the fridge, turn off the kitchen light. Play in hand, I walk to my room, close the door. I kick off my sneakers, plunk Indian style onto my futon, which is flat against the floor, pushed against the far wall. I remove my contacts, put on my glasses, stare down at the pages. Leaving my brother Dave, 4.5 years younger, was like forgetting an arm, and it meant other seriously crappy things too, like saying goodbye to our mother and daughter yellow labs, Honey Bear and Tawny Pooh Bear of Mandalay, the latter whom I had named, both of whom I loved fiercely. Gone were those hours spent identifying every little wildflower sprouting up in the woods. Gone were those nights in my sleeping bag, all of my wide dreams and prayers playing out across the endless glitter-tossed skies. Losing that stuff hurt. When I went to NMH, I was thrown onto a superhighway, sharing classrooms with the sons and daughters of supermodels, foreign diplomats, famous actors and actresses, political figures, wealthy business people. I knew I was supposed to want to become them. And over those high school years, I learned to develop that want. But I also knew I would never be them, and that maybe even the wanting itself was somewhat suspect. All of that stuff kind of hurt. Still, it wasn't rape scene hard. I searched my room for inspiration. A dozen or so melancholy books with incomprehensibly wordy titles and colons are strewn about my room. To the head of my bed, there are stacks of flashcards wadded together next to a Latin textbook and dictionary. My luggable computer sits suspended against the far wall on the door, held up by milk crates. Perched atop the computer, looking down on me, is my first doll, Urja, whose yellow hair I scissored while playing beauty salon. Next to her is a soil-colored teddy bear with mastermind black peg eyes. He was a gift from my mom just before I left for boarding school. Something about my impending departure made her remember that she had forgotten to get me one as a child. By the time the bear arrived, I was beyond too cool for stuffed animals, and the bear had lived, unnamed, in a box in my closet. But now that I'm in college, No Name Teddy Bear has a prominent place in my room. Apparently, being cool isn't as important anymore. Come to think of it, trying to be cool in boarding school had been a confusing disaster. For a few weeks there, I tried and failed, like all the other girls, to be bulimic. As I recall, I had real emotions, like wanting to be considered cute and fear about not fitting in. There was pain there, but not enough for a rape scene, I'm quite sure. I ought to be able to draw on my parents' divorce. You'd think it would be harsh to see your parents, who have been married for over 20 years, split up. Though it blew my brother's world apart, mine stayed pretty much intact. I was already halfway gone from home, independent. Lots of times, and I'm certainly cow crap for thinking this, I'm edging more toward being relieved about it more than anything else. I'm getting nowhere with this. I should do some of my other homework. I rifle through my book bag, take out my latest book for poetry class. We've moved from Hart Crane to Marianne Moore now. I open to A Grave and read these lines. Man looking into the sea, taking the view from those who have as much right to it as you have it to yourself. It is human nature to stand in the middle of a thing, but you cannot stand in the middle of this. The sea has nothing to give but a well-excavated grave. Intriguingly bleak, yes. But I just can't concentrate on it. I catch myself wondering if I can use someone else's poem as motivation for this extremity scene. Then I shove more back in my bag, return to scouring my mind for painful experiences of struggle that I can use. It's making me a little anxious to realize how few experiences I have to choose from. Am I lonely? I've been boyfriendless since I can't remember when. Ever since my art major boyfriend, Jeff, and I broke up a year ago, I haven't been able to imagine dating anyone else. He'll always be my first love. We met freshman year. He moved in across the hall with his battered clothes, unwieldy canvases, and paints. Hideous pet tarantula. Still, there was just something right about him, something I couldn't ignore. From our first meeting, we were pretty much inseparable. I slide out of my clothes, grab my white long underwear sweats from underneath my pillow, put them on. Things between Jeff and I went off track somewhere, got too serious. Breaking up was wrenching for us both. It's a year later, and I still love Jeff. Feel a little sad not to be with him. We say we're friends, but we don't hang out much anymore. I open my door. Sal's and Kathy's rooms are dark. They must still be out. I walk down the hall to the bathroom, turn the light on, squeeze toothpaste onto my brush, move it around my mouth. I spit, rinse, look in the mirror, see my tired eyes looking back at me from behind my glasses. I shut off the light, walk back down the hall to my room, close the door, sit down on my bed. It's also a little weird to be the only one home, not to be into what everyone else is doing on a Saturday night. Sometimes it makes me feel lonely, but I'm not one of those gotta have a man girls. I like studying. That's who I am. What am I gonna do about scene study? I guess my parents' divorce will have to do. In later years, whenever I remember this night, I'll be overwhelmed with a desire to stop time, to pause and hover over this scene, over this college girl in the last hours of her ordered and clement life. Her troubles may confuse her, but they do not bewilder her. Until her heavy-lidded eyes close in sleep this night, her life will still be arranged chronologically. Whatever her pains, they're still subject to the ordering logic of remembrance and identity. For this last night, she is a college girl, and that explains her. Sometime in the next few hours, her memory-making abilities will change. Her point of view, her sense of time will come to resemble that of a veteran of war, much like the hapless Billy Pilgrim from Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. Somebody was playing with the clocks, not only with the electric clocks, but the wind-up kind too. The second hand on my watch would twitch. Once in a year would pass. Then it would twitch again. There was nothing I could do about it. That's what her night would be like later. I'd love to remember her in her last hours of Pacific sleep. I can't, though. Not really. But here's what probably happened. I must have tossed Mastro Simone's extremity scene next to me on the floor. I likely put my glasses back on the windowsill just above my head. I must have cracked the window, killed the light, pulled my frilly lavender comforter down tight. A raw November air must have spilled over me. I probably switched positions, twisting sheet and blanket round me, my breath coming on, even, deep. Slurry voices likely streamed into and out of bars and pizza joints. Bodies slumped their way home. The sounds probably died out. The computer screen, with its pulsing cursor, likely smoldered an iridescent wavy green. I left it on most of the time. Somewhere I'd heard that all halfway decent writers did this. The whole room was probably bathed in a mustardy light when I flipped onto my stomach. My white cotton gym socks, lying on the floor by the foot of the bed, scrubbed off during sleep, might have even had a dim green glow. I probably dreamed that night, but I won't really remember any of that. Instead, I'll remember this. A fistful of my hair jerks me back. There's a slabby male figure leaning over me, pants bunched around his hips. I screech into the blackness, my fingers hunting for my glasses. Pages are crackling on the floor. A hand shuts off my scream. I thrash, strain my neck to see a face. It's gigantic, vacant, blank, like a blackboard. Outlined chin and jaw loom over me. I try to scribble in eyes, nose, lips, but I can't call up chalk. He moves his hand. I scream. Thick fingers jam up my throat. My tongue swells. Leathery sweat fills my nostrils. I'll just end there. Thanks.